In today's video, I want to bring you guys the joint mobility warm-up. This is a warm-up I've used for probably 15 years now. I use it in all the classes. We're going to run through it. It's going to be a follow-along video. So any of these movements that you get into, you feel stuck or are challenging for you, that's an indication you need to do more of that movement. Typically low backs, everybody's neck seems to be jammed up. Everybody's weak in their upper back, so thoracic lifts and things like that, you should probably spend more time on. But we're going to start with the head and neck. We're going to move the shoulders, we're going to move the low back, and do some light stretching at the end. But again, this is what I use before every class and before I warm up to do my kettlebell workouts. So you want to line up your feet right underneath your hips. You want to stand nice and tall. Imagine that you're suspended by something so your skeleton's nice and elongated. This is an excellent tool to learn how to breathe and move. So we want to breathe first, move second. This all bleeds into your kettlebell training. So all of these movements that we'll do, these are all your strength movements, unweighted. So it gives you a great tool to build up to kettlebell practice and breathe with it. So feet are underneath your hips, stand nice and tall, and we'll just start with head mounds. You want to go as far as you can in each direction, and the better your posture, the better the feeling will be in the movement. So we want to breathe in through the nose, go at whatever speed's comfortable for you. We're going to look side to side and try to use your eyes, try to peek over your shoulder, try to go to the fullest range of motion. If you do have a tendency to get dizzy with head movements, just go a little bit slower and keep your eyes open. From there, we'll go to jaw blade tilts. So just lift the blade of the jaw, find a nice deep stretch. You can drop the shoulder on the same side that you're lifting. To go a little more, I get a lot of cracks and pops with these. And we're doing an abbreviated version of this. So again, if you do glides forward and push your face back in. If you do have trouble with some of these movements, do more of them. After glides, we go to big head circles, nice and slow and controlled. This is one where you might feel or hear a lot of cracking and popping. It's an indication that you need to do more of these. And switch direction. Shoulder rolls. We're going to go both at the same time, both in the same direction. So we're going to use the upper back muscles to pull the shoulders back and down. Switch direction. We're going to switch direction, but we're going to alternate now. So the legs got to tighten up. Mobility movements are strength movements. It's not stretching. Okay, you're actively switch directions, keep alternating. You're actively using your muscles to reclaim or maintain your full range of motion. So mobility is strength. And from there we go to thoracic lifts. Thoracic glides. So your sternum shifts from one hip to the other. You've got to let your low back relax, and those deep low back muscles, your quadratus laborums, you should feel them stretch on each one. Arm swings, straight up, straight down. Don't let your elbows bend overhead because we lose the stretch on the lats. So on the way down, we're stretching out the deltoids and the shoulders. On the way up, the lats. Alternating crosses. So every time your arms spread out, open your fingers, open your palms, and we're alternating the top hand. Palms are open on the ceiling. These are shoulder screws, so we have internal into external rotation. At the same time, that heel's gonna slide out as well, so good. Exhale, we're turning the shoulder down, we're lifting the hip up. Try to keep your arms on a straight line and make sure you're folding that shoulder right over the pectoral muscle. After shoulder screws, we go into waist twisting, qigong waist twisters. Make sure you find a spot behind you visually each time on these. Feet a little bit closer, we're going to lateral bends now. So you want to lean, hang to the side, lift the shoulder, and you're bending and stretching the side that you're leaning away from. So the foot you're over is somewhat weightless, pushing a weight out into the hip. Inhale, exhale. And a lot of people have limitations with lateral bending too, so maybe another one you take a lot of time with. From here we go to pelvic swings. So we arch our hips back and then we squeeze our glutes, abs, bring everything together and forward. So these are your micro kettlebell swings. They're also how we set up and finish squats. It also teaches you how to put tension into the top of your glutes with good exhales. So it is a great exercise for low back. Hip hiking, both feet are firmly pushed into the ground. The knee comes forward and that drops that side of your hip so you can load up and stretch the opposite side. So it's kind of like a hip toss in wrestling, but we're loading and stretching and kind of leaning away from that hip. After our hip hikes, we think of our tailbone pointing straight down like a piece of chalk, and we're going to draw circles around our heels with hip circles. So we're flushing synovial fluid all through the low back and the hips with these. The shoulders are going to go opposite to the motion of your pelvis. And switch your direction with your hip circle. After hip circles, we'll go into hinges. So knees are nice and soft, straight line from your tailbone to the top of your head. We bring it up, we lock out glutes, abs, lats. Inhale into it, nice deep stretch in your hamstrings, up to a good lockout. Inhale, exhale. So that pelvic tilt that we just did comes into play here. And your pelvic tilt will come into play all the time with kettlebell work. So after our hinging, we'll go into back bends. The key to this is locking your glutes out, locking your quads out, and then leaning back, opening up the abs, and then coming upright with it. So put a little tension on those low back muscles, but not a lot because our glutes are what is supporting our stance here. So as far as you're comfortable back bending, after that, we're going to a full squat. The idea is to just be able to get down here and be able to breathe and stretch. So I call this breathing squats or hip pries. So you can get your elbows inside there, open up the adductors, and just be able to breathe the best you can in your full squat. So if you have trouble with these, a good tool is finding something anchored or something heavy, a chair or something like that, that can help you get down and be able to breathe. You can also do these on a wall to make it a lot more easy as well. After our squat holds, we go into the cossack stretch. So for cossacks, we're sitting back and down. This knee is at 90 degrees. We're opening up the adductors of the straight or the trailer. So these are really challenging for a lot of people. So take your time. Another one where you might want to get an anchor, something to hold on to. It will allow you to get back and down. A real common oversight is people will lean forward, lift the heel off the ground. You're missing a lot of flexibility and mobility and strength by doing that. So take a step back, make sure your hips are back and down, and the heels do not lift up of the leg that we're down on. Hip flexor stretch from here. So knees on the ground, squeeze your glute, turn your push your pelvis into it, get a nice deep stretch in that hip flexor. From here, we'll straighten out the front leg and we'll stretch out the hamstring. So light stretching at the end. Everybody's got tight hip flexors and hamstrings, so we stretch those out. And other side with it. Hip flexor stretch. Nice and tall, squeeze the glute and curl your pelvis into it. Hamstring front leg. And then we stretch out quads before we start our workout. So you can either sit on your shins if you have that, or we can lay on a hip and stretch your quad from that position. You get a better stretch if you push your hip forward. Same idea as your hip flexor, pushing that hip forward. So that's your warm up, practice it. Like I said at the beginning, anything that has sticking points or is difficult for you means you need to spend more time on it. But this is your base level of strength. Practicing this routine will help you breathe better, help you move better, give you more success at these workouts. So any questions you have, please ask. I'd love to help. Thank you.